Use cross-disciplinary approach of lawyers and social workers who can assist with chemical dependency issues, mental health issues, housing, and employment. Get the social workers involved as part of the defense team at the beginning of the process. Continue representation of the client until they're out of the criminal justice system. And that doesn't just mean until you get the case dismissed, go to trial and get them acquitted, or do the plea bargain and get the person pled. It means, at least at our firm, it means sticking with that client if they are on probation until they're done with probation, so that you help them be successful on that probation. Create a relationship of trust so the client can seek intervention before making a bad choice that may lead to reincarceration. So we try to treat our clients like family. We develop relationships with them. So if they're in trouble in the future, before they reoffend, they feel like maybe they're having chemical dependency issues again, they need housing, they just feel like they're kind of falling apart again, they might feel, especially with social workers on staff, like they can call us. They have somewhere to call, that someone who's not, probation or in the system, if you will, someone they can call and trust to maybe help get them back on track before, hopefully, before they reoffend. All right, but what are the limitations of lawyers? Lawyers can spot legal issues, but they're not looking for social issues. There are some lawyers that are really progressive and, well-informed about, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, but you can't count on a lawyer for that. And even with training to spot mental health issues, there's still a low degree of compliance. There's a lot of lawyers who say, hey, listen, I didn't go to law school to be a social worker, so I'm not going to do all this social worky stuff. Lawyers are appointed to represent a client in this one case. The rest of the client's life problems are outside the scope of representation. Again, I didn't go to law school to be a social worker. So what are the advantages of bringing social workers into this process at the beginning? Well, they're much less expensive than lawyers. They're more likely to try to solve the reasons the client came into the system instead of this particular case. It's hard to beat that out of a lawyer. I want to win. Social workers are about, well, let's help this person win in life. It's about much more than just this case. They're more likely to know community resources, so treatment and counseling can be outsourced to nonprofits and faith-based initiatives. And they went to social work school. They like this stuff. All right, thinking long-term. Why we need to change our model. David came up with it. David this is what makes him, he's just amazing this way. He's like, I was reading an article about indigent healthcare, and I think there's a really good analogy here. I'm like, oh, okay, well, do a chart or something. So he did. All right, which is more expensive, preventative care or emergency care? And then he has this quote from the Code Red report. Current trends in the delivery of health care in Texas will inevitably exacerbate current problems. Overdependence on emergency rooms to access primary care for the uninsured is the most expensive means of delivering care. How indigent care affects the entire healthcare system. All right, an uninsured person goes to the ER because he doesn't have health insurance. The uninsured person can't pay his hospital bills. The hospital recoups those losses from patients who can pay. The costs are passed on to health insurance companies who just absorb them and don't increase your rates, right? Wrong. The insurance companies raise their premiums. Employers' health insurance costs rise. Fewer employers can afford to offer health insurance. Employees can't afford primary care because they're uninsured. So you can see how the system just feeds on itself. All right. How does the indigent defense affect the entire criminal justice system? An indigent person is arrested. The indigent person can't bond out, so the county gets to pay to house and feed him. The defense lawyer is appointed. The client just wants to plead guilty to get out of jail. That's that big 15-minute, communication plea that goes on. And we call them plea mills because that's what they are. The reason for the underlying arrest is never addressed. The criminal conviction makes that person harder to employ. It's hard for them to get housing. It's hard for them to get services. So the client seeks government assistance or does day labor. Either way, no tax revenue from that person to the county, to the state, to the feds. The instability continues until the next crisis. The crisis leads to poor choices, and they get arrested again. And around we go. So do social workers magically break this cycle? No, there's no magic about it. But there's two ways this can play out. You can continue to spend money on processing people through the system, hoping they will change, or you can invest in the solution rather than the process. It's a double victory. The more successful the people are coming out of the criminal justice system, the less we pay to process them and the greater the tax revenue from their wages, from the wages that they earn. I'm going to give you as a way of an example Michelle's case. We had a client come to us from LifeWorks, which is just this great organization, and here in Austin. And this person had 8 cases, and they wanted us to handle it pro bono. And she had 1 Class A resisting arrest, 3 Class B criminal trespass cases, and 4 Class C tickets. All right, so she had we sensed that she had a mental health issue, and I should let you know that we have at Sumpter and Gonzalez on our staff, we have a full-time master's level social worker, and we have social work interns. We have an entire social work program. So our social worker did an assessment of the client. We got her an appointment at a new. We went to go talk to the judge. We had a big sit down with the prosecutor and the judge. And what happened was all 8 cases were dismissed. And our client got to a new because, well, she didn't have a car. She had issues getting to a new. So our social worker picked her up and took her to her appointment. She got on her meds. She's doing so much better. And because we were able to keep all those convictions off her record, she has a job. Versus what was happening when we stepped in, which is she was literally in jail getting ready to plea to all 4 of her more serious cases. Okay, she was not going to go to a new. She was absolutely going to be back in the system, and I mean in a matter not of years but of months. She wasn't going to be employed. So, getting social workers involved on the front end makes a huge difference. And this is just one example. This happens in, I'd say, we have our social worker involved in 50 to 60% of our cases. And he is involved. He's not just assessing people. He's taking people to appointments. He's checking up on them. Did you call your therapist? You got to call your therapist. Did you go to your AA meeting? You've got to go to your AA meeting. You got to keep it up. It's the encouragement. It's the hands-on approach. And it's inside this relationship of trust. And that's just been key to motivating our clients to really change their lives. So in conclusion, this is part that I added. We know money doesn't grow on trees, but with holistic advocacy, your clients can win in the end, and the counties can actually save long-term dollars. Thanks.